Welcome back in. And this is a live look now, Omaha Beach there, where commemoration ceremonies continue for the 80th anniversary of the D-Day invasion there on the beaches of Normandy. And the Omaha beaches, I'm sure you're well aware, that was the beach that was profiled in Saving Private Ryan, where unfortunately they didn't get a lot of help from the Navy as support on there, so they were pretty much just walking into, you know, an ambush from the Germans that were on that beach, but they were somehow able at some point to secure that hill, which is an amazing feat, no doubt.
Yeah.
But again, 80 years ago today, American troops and our allied troops stormed those beaches, and it combined land, air, and sea for what they called Operation Overlord.
It certainly paved the way for Allied forces' victory over Nazi Germany, literally saving the world. With us today to commemorate the 80th anniversary and to talk more about the importance of this day is retired Army Major General James Darden. General, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here, and what an honor to have you on our show.
Thank you so much.
First question, just what does this day mean to you, being a military man?
Well, today means that this was 80 years ago. This was the beginning of the end of World War II. We went on after Operation Overlord to have 12 weeks of heavy fighting in Normandy, where we lost another 300,000 young men. So this is a day, I think, that shows the United States at its finest, not necessarily for the invasion, but the attitude of the Americans that were behind the war effort and were behind their young men and women.
You know what's striking to me is how much, during all these commemoration ceremonies happening this week, how much the people of France and in Europe really still appreciate what those brave soldiers did, because as you mentioned, it took a lot. It wasn't just that day. I mean, it took all the way through the Battle of Bulge and later that winter to finally break the Germans' will. So, you know, you got to think that it's just striking the way these other countries appreciate sometimes our American forces better than we do.
It's unfortunate that there are probably more communities in France celebrating D-Day than there are in the United States. They are very appreciative of the things that we've done, and the French get a bad rap from time to time. There were probably only 12,000 killed French in the war. Very small army, but they are very appreciative of the efforts that the United States made.
General, we're looking at some of the videos of some of the military men that were able to make that trip to be a part of it. And we talk about men, but women too were supportive. They played a role, maybe not storming those beaches, but they certainly played an important role today. But talk about the men at that time. I remember my father telling stories. He was just a teenager, and he wanted to serve his country. That is just amazing to us to think about.
Well, the men at that time that stormed Omaha and that were part of Operation Overlord were not men, they were boys.
Yeah.
The average age was 18 to 19 years old of the 156,000 that went on the beach. So they were young men, a lot of them off the farm, didn't know where they were, couldn't pronounce the names of the villages they were liberating, but they knew that they were told that they had to do this to protect the United States.
I saw an interview with one World War II veteran. He was in one of the tanks, and he talked about when he went to boot camp, and from there, a commander said, "All right, you're going to go with me." And he goes, "Where?" He said, "You'll find out." He says that was the common phrase they were given. But he said his biggest concern is that one day people will forget. Talk about the importance of what we need to teach future generations about the sacrifices.
You know, it's often said that people die two times. One, their physical death, and the last time is when they're remembered no more. We cannot let this die. We have to keep the memory of people in World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Gulf War. Those people need to be kept alive in our memories, and the stories need to be told. And I think that's the only way that America will stay strong, is looking back to our past so that we won't be doomed to repeat it.
If not for these men and not for what happened 80 years ago and beyond, this would be a whole different conversation.
Yeah, absolutely, we'd all be speaking German.
That's what is always said about what would have happened then, so we can't thank them enough. Before we do wrap up, though, I do want our viewers to know a little bit more about you. You didn't serve, of course, back then, you're too young, but you have followed and been a part of, you served in Vietnam. Talk about you for a moment. I know that's hard for you, but I would like for you to, if you don't mind.
Well, I was 6 months old when D-Day was, so you can look and see how long it's been. I graduated from Mississippi State and had an ROTC commission. Went from there into the military. Went from there straight to Vietnam. Spent a year there, and then went back to graduate school. I was very fortunate with a lot of the Vietnam veterans were disrespected when they came back. They were baby killers. They were whatever. I went back to North Mississippi. I was treated very kindly and very fondly and very respectfully. So I did not endure the wrath of a lot of the public.
Patriotism was still
time.
there.
The patriotism was still there, and it still is. I've had the opportunity to command 2 divisions, the 87th Division, the 81st Division, that participated in World War II. And I had the opportunity to follow their footsteps, both divisions across Europe. And when you go there in June and you go to the Battle of Bulge and places like that, you really can't get a real feel for the battle. Go there in the winter when they fought, and it was cold, and they were properly clothed, and they didn't have the cold weather gear. And the attitude of our American soldiers was, they say they're part of the greatest generation. They are. But we also have a lot of great young men and women now serving in uniform. Never discount that, and our adversaries should not use it.
One final word. You've been to Normandy, and you said that is something that you really, you can't describe it, you feel it.
Right.
Talk about that as we wrap up.
Well, it's almost hollowed ground. Probably Antietam and D-Day were the largest loss of American life on a given day. And to go there and to know what was going on in General Eisenhower's mind when he launched the paratroopers, there were 17,500 of them. He was told that they would probably take 75% casualties. Of the 156,000 Canadian, Brits, and U.S. That were part of Operation Overlord, they were anticipating 50% casualties. I cannot imagine what was going on in his mind to pull the trigger on that.
Thank God they did at that time.
Thank God.
Retired Army Major General James Darden, what an honor to have you here with us, and great perspective, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Janice, and thank you for the sacrifices that you and your family have made, for your patriotism and for the love of this country. We see you at all the military events,
Oh, well,
and thank you so much.
You're sweet to say that. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. All right, we'll be right back.